So it is time for part 4, and that is the interior of the camper. You can see I'm jumping a bit ahead. I still got some things to finish on the outside, but we're already getting started on the inside. And yeah, I've got to make progress anywhere that I can. So yeah, we're just getting things all stained and ready on the wood front. Getting all my wood stained before I can, or actually before I cut it. That way it makes the whole process easier. After I cut things and assemble it, I only have to stain small little places here and there. So yeah, got a lot ahead of us for the interior. I mean, obviously everything, insulation, flooring, building out the seating, the cabinet, sink, electrical. So this might be a long episode, so why don't we go ahead and jump right into it. So before I even started cutting anything, I downloaded the free version of SketchUp for the 30-day trial, and I designed the interior of the camper in there to get an idea for what I was going to do. Now, I had a couple thoughts in my head, but ultimately I went with this kind of, I would say, maybe innovative idea of putting the dinette up higher so you can sit and your head goes up into kind of the pop-up portion instead of having the dinette down on the floor of the camper. This gives me a lot more storage underneath, which is great and really opens up the interior. But it was super awesome being able to use this, design everything to scale, and make sure everything was going to fit and work how it should, like the water tanks in the sink. So this was a very instrumental piece of the process. Alright, so starting on some interior projects here, the first part of the interior, I have these project panels that are going to be the counter and then a replacement for the, dinette table. I already got this one cut down to size and sanded. These look super nice. I think this is going to look really good in there. We're going to go with a dark stain, but yeah, got to cut this one down to size, get it sanded as well. So we went ahead and got these sanded and wiped down. I'm going to go ahead and put the stain on these. I have a dark walnut stain, so really looking forward to seeing how that looks on these. So after I stained the tables, I didn't actually like the flooring that I picked out, so me and my wife went and picked this out last night. It's like super close to the stain of the table and the counter, so just getting it roughed in. We'll cut it down a bit to fit better, and then I think I'm going to try and get this installed today. But yeah, I really like how this looks. It's going to look super good in here once we get the wall panels on and everything. But yeah, this is just vinyl sheet flooring, and again, reason I went with this is I didn't want any seams or gaps between, if I did plank flooring. That's just a vector for water to get underneath the floor, like the old floor, and do damage. So I want a nice solid covering with no gaps for water. Plus this stuff is thin and super light, so it's gonna be lighter than plank flooring anyways, and it doesn't take up a bunch of space on the floor. So yeah, let's get this kind of rough cut to fit. For cutting the floor to fit in here, I'm using a big long straight edge, and I'm pushing it hard against this wall here to force the vinyl flooring into the corner, and then I'm running a blade right on this inside edge here, which ends up giving me a nice, perfectly crisp cut right at the edge. You can see I got this other side done, and then I'm just working through the corners here, and this piece will be trimmed up and ready to fasten down here shortly. So I have the floor trimmed, and it is ready to stick down. I'll show you guys what I'm using. So I have this max grip vinyl tape, and what we're going to be doing is laying strips all around the edges of the floor and then sticking it down as we work our way around, making sure the floor is flat. You don't have any bubbles or anything like that. But man, this floor is looking really good, and it matches the stain like so well. And then I've got some handles I'll show you guys that we're going to put on the inside of here to make sliding these open and closing them easy. So the tape is down on the perimeters. Apparently with small spaces like this, you can get away with just perimeter taping. So yeah, let's hope that works out. Should be fine. This is not a big space, and then there's even going to be pieces of wood eventually bolted to the floor past where the tape is, so I don't anticipate this moving or having any issues with it. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and lay the floor in and then start peeling peeling up the backing and sticking the floor down. So I got a new Craig tool. This is like one of their saw guides. I'm going to give this a shot instead of that edge one that I was using. I think this will produce a bit more accurate result. Got it set up on this panel. We're going to rip this panel in half to 24 inches, and both of these pieces are going to make up the passenger and driver side walls in the camper. Now, it is technically taller than 24 inches, but I'm going to do a separate piece for the topmost, like 4 inches or so on the walls. That way I can get 2 walls out of one piece of plywood and not have an awkward amount of this sheet left over. I think that'll be the best way to do it. But yeah, so we're going to rip this down to size right now. Nice, that worked really well. So it might be a little hard to see, but we marked out where we're going to be cutting the wood for the bed supports, and on this side we also marked out the window. So this is the passenger side piece. Drew it all on the back, that way we don't have to worry about pin marks on the front side. And then we'll take a drill in these corners, and then we will use jigsaw to cut out the window, and then probably use the skill saw to rip this line because I want it nice and straight. This line's a little bit less important around the window because I'm going to do some trim. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and try and get this cut up. It's about 8:18 right now, so that's probably all I got time for tonight. So another component of the interior is remaking the EMT conduit lift panel. I'll show you what I'm talking about real quick. Remaking this thing right here. So this is like 1/2 inch EMT. I'm gonna move it up to 3/4, so a little bit stronger. And this is not properly built. It actually pulls the roof forward. So yeah, we're gonna redo it, make it a bit stronger, and get rid of this very janky setup here. So yeah, I'm just in the process of figuring out the sizes of these poles here in the bends, and we're gonna start bending to shape. And luckily this stuff's pretty cheap, so if I mess up, I guess it just means another run to the hardware store. Well, meant to record that, but I didn't, so I marked my line here where I wanted the bend to start, and lined that up with this tool here, bent this to 90 degrees, and now we're going to measure out how wide we want this and where we want our bend to start again, and then make that bend, and then cut off any excess from the end if there is any. So that's what we're going to do now. Alright, so we're going to be replacing the lift mechanism today on the inside. That's what we're working on right now. So I got 2 25-inch pieces of wood here wedging the roof up, and now we're going to start, we already got this unbolted down here, we're going to start pulling out this stuff and then start getting the new stuff I bent put in here. So yeah, that's the plan. Since the previous owner turned this whole back area into Swiss cheese, I got some aluminum bar stock here that we are going to use to strengthen this up. So that's the plan. I'm going to cut this up to 2 pieces to cover the large portion of where I'm going to be mounting my new, I guess, bases, and yeah, add some more strength. So we have the top bar up, and we have these reinforcement plates all mounted. Now, yeah, so the top bar is up and kind of centered, so we're going to start locating things and positioning stuff. Alright guys, big milestone. We got our new EMT conduit lift panel in place. This was more challenging than I thought it was going to be, but these 3D printed mounts here are working out great. I need to get just some longer bolts for this because they only go into this 1/8 inch sheet, and I want them to go all the way through the 1/8 inch into the frame. But man, yeah, it all looks really good. The hardest part was figuring out where this pivot needed to be in order to close it flat without shifting the back forward or backwards. That took a little bit of finagling, but it is in and it is done. I'm gonna figure something out for holding this up when it's up vertical. The struts do a really good job of holding the tent up, and then just locking these in place keeps the poles straight, gives it some structure. Just gotta zip tie on it for now, but we'll figure out a more permanent solution here probably in a little bit. But yeah, that part is done. And then this morning, got this back wall piece cut, and so needs a little bit of massaging to fit around the door. This camper is definitely not super square from a measurement perspective, so gotta do that. And now that we've replaced this, I'm gonna notch the wall around this section here. That way, if I ever want to take the wall panel off in the future, I don't have to take this off, because how it was before was bolted through the wall panel, which means if you wanted to ever take the wall off for some reason, you would have also had to take the lift panel assembly off too. So just trying to keep in mind future repairability and ease of access. So one thing I'm doing right now is staining the back sides of, well, not staining, but sealing the back sides of the wall panels. We're just going to go with a clear polyacrylic, water-based, easy stuff to put on. That'll seal the back side, and then the front side that you'll see, that'll actually get some colored stain, and then a polyacrylic over it. So yeah, we're going to get the back sides of all these panels sealed up, and then we can worry about the front side later. So we got the polyacrylic on the back sides of these pieces here, and I got another piece drying over by the camper. Now this is the slide out platform for the bed. Just finished sanding this down. We're going to do the same polyacrylic on this plywood section here. And then this little end piece, the handle I guess, that's going to get stained the same color as the table and counter. So yeah, I already polyacrylic the underside of this yesterday. So we're going to do the top now, and that's just to seal it from water. You can see there was some water damage here in the past. So yeah, we're going to get it all sealed up. Alright, so I am starting to wire in these lights, and I'm running into the fact that now I kind of need to get the power situated. So I think what I'm going to do is we're going to figure out where the battery is going to go, and I'm pretty sure it's going to go right here. And then that way we can start running power. So we have some cables over there that go up and control the ceiling fan and the lights, and then we have the power from the solar that comes in and needs to be hooked up as well. So I'm thinking that I'm going to start working on the electrical before we put in the panels permanently. That way I can run the wires I need to run, such as like these lights, or the wires for the lights and other things like that. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is we're going to find a home for the battery, which I believe is right here. This allows me to get in here and get up and get access to this door. So I think that's going to be pretty good right there. So yeah, that's where we're going to probably put everything. So we're going to lay out all of our electronics on this sheet of wood. So we have our fuse block here. It's Blue Sea Systems fuse block. I'm gonna use this Renogy battery monitor, so this is the shunt there, and then we have our Zamp solar controller. We'll have our 40 amp breaker, which is a main disconnect, and any other stuff that we want to put on here. I'm gonna put it all on this board, because then this board can just be mounted into the camper on the front wall there towards the cab by the battery, and that'll make everything simple, and I can get my runs right and everything, and plan out how we're going to basically run cables off of this, I guess we'll call it just the power wall. So yeah, getting this laid out right now, and just doing some research on this, seeing how I might incorporate the solar controller if I can. But yeah, that's what we're working on right now. I'll show you guys once I make some more progress. So a little update here. This isn't totally the final form, but just kind of mocking things up. Got this kind of mostly sorted where I'm going to have things, and some wire runs. I'm going to likely put this on a piece of 1/2 inch plywood instead of 1/4 inch, just for the screws being too long on a lot of these things. But the battery will go right here, and I'm probably going to trim some off the bottom and some off this side in the final product, so it fits a bit tighter and the battery sits more kind of closer to some of the stuff. That way it's as compact as I can get it while still having room for everything. But the battery terminal will come off and connect to here for the fuse panel, and then the solar will come up and charge, and then I just have to run a negative to the negative side here, and that is going to be most of it. I may put a positive side bus bar right here. That way if I want to run an inverter, I can do that as well. But at this point in time, this is probably how it's going to look. And then coming off of this shunt here is going to be the battery monitor, and that's going to come over here somewhere by the counter where I can view it from outside and inside. But yeah, making some progress. So next day I'm wiring in my lights, and what I'm going to do is, so this is where my 3 switches are going to go, somewhere right around here for my exterior lights. That way I can get to them from outside of the camper. I'm going to wire them in and use the chassis as a common ground for these, because they're just low voltage, low amperage circuits. So I think that should be good. So this is grounded to the chassis there. This one's grounded to the chassis there. And then that means we just have to run positive wires to it, which saves on having to run a ton of wires through the camper. And then we just have to run a negative ground to the frame from the bus bar here. So yeah, I think that should work pretty good. If you guys think otherwise, let me know in the comments, but that's what we're going to proceed with. So I'm just drilling some holes where wires are going to pass through the wall. So this is the passenger side of the camper, and we have that one light that's about up here on that side. So that wire is going to come down behind the wall, and it's going to pass through here, and then they're all going to be routed kind of along a similar path to the switch. And then for this one, you can see I did the same thing, but I also added a nice little rubber grommet, so I'll do that for the other one. And then here we'll do the same thing, rubber grommet. Most of these wires are all going to be hidden behind the other stuff that I'm building in the campers, like cabinets and such like that, but I didn't want to run too much stuff behind the camper walls, just for ease of use and maintenance and such in the future. That way all wires are easy to get to, easy to run. If I need to change things in the future, then I can certainly do that. So our main wire runs in the camper are going to be along this edge here, and then along the top bar there, and then probably along this edge here. And they'll of course be, you know, the cabinets for the counter and the fridge and storage and seating. So all this stuff will be mostly hidden, and anything that is like a vertical piece will have a small cutout in the back here for pass through of cables. So on the inside here, got the panels put in to take a look at the stain color against the floor, and I think it's gonna look really good. It's like a whitewashed wood color. But I'm gonna move over now to the table here, and we're gonna take my router and put a nice 1/4 inch round over on the edge. First time using a router, so let's see how it goes. Looks pretty good. So I have put some screws in this board here to hold it where it's going to be. That's keeping this board here. Now I can go ahead and take measurements for the pieces of 3/4 inch plywood that are going to support the counter and the fridge over here. So that's what we're going to do, take some measurements and get some cutting gun. So as far as the interior is concerned, we're starting with the cabinet that's going to hold the fridge. Now this is being made out of 3/4 inch sanded plywood for strength, because it's going to be holding a full fridge over there in it. And yeah, so we're going to start with this. Right now we're getting it all measured out to be cut so it'll fit the contour of the floor. So yeah, that's what we're doing right now. Gonna get this side done, and then we'll move on to this side, and then from there we can get the counter mounted on it temporarily and start working on what the drawer is gonna look like. So we got this piece mocked up in here. This is the countertop. Not as close to the floor color. Ignore the brown stuff. I'm just using that to keep the main floor protected. Not as close as I would have wanted, but we'll see how it looks once it's all done. But yeah, I got this all mocked up here. Now, I'm not a cabinet builder, but what I think I'm going to do is cut a piece of 3x1, the width that's supposed to be back there. So basically, this width here, it's going to be back there to make sure we're square. It'll also give us a spot to drill into the frame to basically mount the cabinet. Then we'll do one down here across the bottom as well, and then we'll do one right up here across this portion of the top. So that will nicely, and then we'll do one on the back there. So that'll nicely square out the cabinet and give it some structure, make sure it's all square, and then we can work on the slide out and putting that in there for the fridge. So you can see what I was talking about here with putting that brace. We're looking at the underside of the bottom of this right now. So this is the back that'll face the wall. Already did this one. Got nice pocket holes in here with the Craig jig, and now we're gonna do another one across what will be the top there. So let's do that right now. Oh, I love this tool. It makes it so easy. So I just got one of the locking slides in. This is where the fridge is going to go in this area. So this is just one side. These are pretty nice. They don't lock out, which is okay. Actually, I kind of prefer that. But they do lock in about halfway there and then all the way. And super sturdy. These are rated for 250 pounds, I think, each. So should be plenty of strength. Now I got the one side on. Now we're going to flip this over and do the other side. Oh, and I lied. There is a lock, but it's a gravity, so that's why it wasn't working on the side. But it locks like that, and then as this slides in, it pushes it up. So I just cut these pieces here. This is going to be the part of the frame of the drawer. And then cut it 3/4 short, because then we'll put a front one up here. So we'll have a frame in here, and then we will put, this will actually probably be up a little bit like this. And we'll put a sheet of 3/4 inch ply on it, and then that's going to be what's going to hold the fridge. So you guys can see here the frame. I haven't screwed it together yet, but you can just kind of see the kind of room we're working with. Fridge just fits in there. So we'll be perfect. We'll have some room. We'll have just a bit of room on the sides for tying the fridge down. So yeah, it's gonna be good. So we're gonna go ahead and screw this together. Of course, pocket hole screws, because those are the best. Frame is all assembled. Looks real nice. Now we're taking a piece of 1/2 inch plywood, and we're gonna cut out a piece that will fit inside of the frame. And yeah, then we'll use pocket hole screws to secure that, but that's what we're gonna do, cut this out. So we have the drawer in. Pretty good, everything functions nice and fits nicely. Fridge fits, just tested it. Man, building drawers is difficult. I would not want to be a cabinet maker. But, let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. I'm not sure what that is yet. Okay, so we're on to trying to figure out seating. So, what we're going to do in here is going to be a little unorthodox. I just put this piece of wood up across here. Covers the window a little bit, not too bad. But this is going to be where the bottoms of the seats anchor to. So what I want to do is use the height here for where you're sitting upright, where most dinettes, the seating is going to start right here, and then your table's going to be right here. And then you have all of this open headspace, which doesn't serve a purpose. So if I move the dinette up and you're sitting up higher, then all of a sudden this can be where your floor is for this portion, which means you have all of this storage underneath. So that's what I'm working through right now, figuring out ergonomics and where things should be spaced and how high things should be to allow us to sit comfortably here. So yeah, I'm gonna noodle around, do some thinking, do some cutting. I'll show you guys what I come up with here in a little bit. All right, so here is the seat, and this is kind of a mock-up of the height of the floor. Sat in it, everything feels good. Now we're gonna go ahead and make this a little bit more better looking and permanent in structure. So we're gonna pull this out of here and yeah, do some changes and make it a little bit more pretty, a little bit more structurally sound. And then I think that will kind of cap off this research into how much space is needed for everything. So yeah, big milestone there, and then we can start on the next side. So I'm preparing the second seat. I've learned from my mistakes on the other one. This one's much nicer. We have some nice support here, all pocket hole screws securing it, and then flipping it over. We have a nice routed and rounded edge here on the front. Everything looks super polished and net clean. We'll sand this side down, and this seat is a little bit wider and it won't have anything jutting up above the seat. It'll actually end right here, so you'll be able to hang your legs over this way or over this way. But yeah, learning from our mistakes, making things look nicer, working on getting this second seat in. All right, we've made some great progress this morning. This is the second seat right here, which is awesome. And you can see how this one's open, so you could sit with your legs hanging down this way, because there'll be a space right in this area before the other section where the sink's going to be over here. And or you can sit with your legs across there or down. This is going to be a really awesome little spot in this camper. And then here is going to be some more counter space. And I think what I'm going to do is cut off this edge here potentially, so you could get in and leave down here, there, and then maybe angle the counter up here at the top. Still thinking through how I'm gonna do that, but yeah, it's coming along. And then now we can really put in this second floor right here. So I think I'm gonna do that out of 1/2 inch, but first I'm gonna eat some lunch, and then we're gonna come back out here and get to work. Got the floor piece in here, so you can see where it's at. This right here is but just high enough to clear a dometic toilet. That was the goal, was to be able to have space there, and then like a fire pit, things like that, whatever, extra storage. So now all I got to do is figure out how to brace this across this way to make it strong enough to stand on. So that's what I'm working on. You can see part of kind of what we're starting to get going here. I also have some steel angle iron that I may use, but yeah, it's starting to take shape, and it's awesome sitting up this high because then the windows up here are at head level, so you get to enjoy the views that you have through those windows. So I got a piece of steel 1-inch angle iron screwed and mounted to the bottom here to give some extra strength and support to the side where we'll be stepping on most of the time. This should be strong enough. We'll see once we get it in there. But I used these self-tapping wood to metal screws that also thread the steel. And yeah, these things are awesome. They create threads in the steel and are super sturdy. The reason I went with those versus bolts or anything like that is because I can snug these up nice and flush into the wood. And I'm just going to take an angle grinder and cut off the stubs, and then we'll sand this piece of metal down and give it some paint. But yeah, this floor portion is looking pretty good. All right, large update. So I was in here working until about 9:30 last night. I've got the floor in pretty much where it's going to be. We also, let's see if it light it up, got some supports under there in the back. And then I'll see if I can find some studs to also bolt that in, but those are bolted in, give some support. I still need to run some wood behind this up to the steel on both sides here. Some extra support, but that's pretty strong. I can stand on it. But two people on it standing at the same time might be a stretch. So I'm gonna strengthen it up some more. This morning, was working on getting this fastened to the wall, so this thing is very firmly bolted in here. So mounted up here across this bar, and well, can't see it, but mounted on that one there to the frame, and then cut this piece here this morning. So this is drilled all the way through the plywood into the 2x4 that is part of the frame here. And then haven't mounted this one yet. I'll wait, but got some pocket holes drilled, and then this is mounted here, and this will screw straight into the floor. And then big update, got this cabinet, the wood cut for this. So this is where the sink's gonna go. Counter's gonna go across the top here. Sink's gonna sit in here. Then you have a freshwater tank and a gray water tank. So pretty compact. So I think that's what we're going to start working on here in a moment, is getting that counter cut. Still got to notch this wood to fit around the window frame. But yeah, lots of progress last night. Pretty happy. So we have our sink here. Just went ahead and put down the measurements on the counter where it's going to be right now. Drilled some holes for the jigsaw, and now we're going to start cutting into this, and hopefully my measurements are right. We'll probably have to do some finessing, but let's take a look. Oh yeah, we gotta, oh that's right, duh. Gotta cut out some spots for these hinges in the back here. A little bit of, is it still hung up on the latch? Oh yeah, it's a little bit lighter. What about up here? It's close, it's close. Okay, so major update. Got this extra bit of counter that's gonna go here next to this one. Obviously gotta stain it. This whole area in here is gonna be storage. I might just do some shelves and like soft totes for now. I don't know if I'm going to do drawers. I kind of want to see how it works out, and kind of use it for a little bit and see, if I need to tweak things. Got one seat here for the dinette. Got another seat here for the dinette. Table will go right there. Floor, got to add a little bit more support to the floor section. And then missing here is another basically sitting area that will have some storage underneath it. And then we got the sink area in, and the sink is also in. Needs a little bit of finessing, but pretty much there. It's tall, but that's so we can fit these 2 7-gallon water tanks in this section. Electric pump will go in here as well. But man, this thing is starting to come together. But yeah, it's looking good. Okay, update time. So this cabinet, we started to get some structural pieces on it, get it supported. What you can see is that perfect fitment here. You can just get this in and out, which is going to be great. and we're probably going to put a door on this, but first I'm going to probably put a piece of plywood straight across here, maybe a little bit higher, and then the door will be lower, and then the other water tank goes up here. The other component that we got done is this second seating area, which is wide enough to, you can actually pretty decently sit 2 people here if you really had to, which gives this seating for 4 in here, but otherwise this is just another spot to chill and sit. Underneath here I think is where stove storage is going to be, and then on top I'm going to probably put some anchor points on each side, so if I want to take the cushion off, that will eventually be here. I have an area to strap stuff down to if I want, like a tote or something like that. So that's where we're at. We're going to get the plywood cut for this section here and kind of start working on what that's going to look like. So I've made a smidge of progress over the last few days after work. I'll give you guys an update on where I'm at. So we have this cabinet here. I've got a drawer here, or not drawer, sorry, shelf here and a shelf here. And then we'll probably put one more shelf here in the middle. I have a door that's basically going to come across the bottom of this shelf here and go all the way up. So I'm working on that right now. This one will be open. I'll probably put, I don't know, a pole or something here to keep stuff from falling out. This side, got this piece mounted on here. And then that is kind of all framed out. And then we have a door piece here that will close that off. So I got to do a little bit of trimming on it to make it fit, and then mount the hinges on it. And then kind of once we get the shelves on here and the door done, we're going to be pretty dang close to pulling this stuff out and sanding and staining it. There's not really a whole lot left to do. So you can see how I used my router to just notch this wood here so this hinge would fit nice and flush. I just didn't even know I needed a router until I had one. But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get this kind of mocked up on the inside of the camper and see if we can't get it hung. All right, big update time. Got this cabinet door on here. Nice little latch. Oh, focus, no, yep, cool. So I'm gonna get probably another hinge or 2 on this just for some extra stability, but this is super nice. Locking, it's a little tight, but yeah, locks on there. And then we have our little shelf down here which happens to fit those little green propane tanks, and then right here we have a little storage area. I'll probably put like a half, let me bump that up for you. So we have a little storage area down here now too, below this shelf. And I'll probably put like I don't know, maybe a net across halfway so you can kind of pull it out and just stuff some stuff down in there, whatever that may be. We have this side now. This is all cut out for the sink. Got the corners nice and rounded, and this is sanded. And we have this door on here as well. Need to figure out some sort of latch mechanism for that, but not a big issue at the moment. And then I'll probably put a piece of wood on the back side right here. But yeah, it's looking really nice. Got this all rounded out and sanded. Kind of going through now and getting, kind of little parts of the interior dialed and ready for stain. So we're gonna start pulling stuff out here and staining it. So I'm pulling all of the interior out and sanding it, starting to get it ready for stain. Just taking some 150 grit to pretty much all the surfaces, knocking off any roughness. Then we're going to clean it and stain it. So, a bit of an update here. We've got our polyurethaning stations going on. Yeah, getting coats of polyurethane on everything that's been stained so far. Got lot of pieces to polyurethane. We have wood everywhere in here, but yeah, that's what we're doing right now. I'm not going to film really any of this. It's pretty boring, and polyurethane sucks. This is definitely my least favorite part of the build so far. But yeah, we're trying to get everything all polyurethane with at least 2 to 3 coats and looking nice so we can get it in and get the camper reassembled this weekend. So we will see if that happens. So, familiar sight. Everything's out of the inside right now. And I think it's time to start insulating this. So we're going to get it cleaned up in here. We're going to check, make sure we don't have any other areas to kind of seal up. And then I guess we'll start putting in some insulation. So before we put insulation, I've got some holes drilled here on the exterior. These are for some L-track, and did the same thing on this side over here. So now that we got these holes drilled, we can go ahead and start putting insulation in. So the insulation that we have gone with is Havelock wool. This is natural sheep's wool, and there's a couple reasons for that. Now, the big reason I went with natural wool is it is mold and mildew resistant and can deal with a high moisture environment like a camper. So obviously there's condensation in there and all that stuff when you're sleeping in it during the winter, and wool tends to kind of absorb moisture when it's damp and cold out, and then it releases it when it's hot, so it's naturally regulating. You don't need a vapor barrier with it, which is super awesome. So that's really kind of like the big one. The next one is that it's kind of got some antimicrobial properties and naturally kind of keeps the air inside smelling better, so that was kind of a little selling factor, as well as it being just kind of a natural fiber. It's also pretty affordable as well. I didn't want to do rigid foam insulation because that stuff is not good for sound insulation, and so that's why typically you want to try and use fiber-based insulation because it helps a lot with sound. I didn't want to hear all the noises from outside and stuff kind of echoing into the inside of the camper. So going with the fiber was super important for me. So those are kind of just the main reasons why I went with the wool. And now we're going to go ahead and start getting it installed in the camper. Okay, got one little piece left, but that basically, I can get with this. Pretty much covers the entire wall here, and I'm going to go ahead and we'll stick the wall panel on. There isn't anything else I need to do on this side, so sweet. So, small update. Have this whole wall done, and then have the front done, and then we have this wall done, and then the back here. And we just got to finish up this little side. I'm going to put the wall panel up just to get it out of the way, and probably put the front panel up too. But yeah, we're getting close. One thing we have to do is, this is the little secondary floor that goes under the dinette. You see I got the steel painted nice and black. This is all nice in polyurethane, and now we're going to go ahead and put some of the vinyl flooring that I have over there on this as well, so it'll match the floor that is already in there. Okay, got our vinyl flooring tape on here, and then what we're going to do is position the vinyl flooring on here and start peeling this up. and laying it down. And then I have a piece of aluminum trim that will go around this edge here and make it look nice and polished. So I'll show you guys what that looks like once I'm done. Little progress update on the inside. You can see we got the wall panels on. Also yesterday I got these sanded and stained. Front wall panel, I mean all the wall panels are in. Looking really good, starting to get things in. Here's the floor piece with the vinyl flooring on it, and then this nice aluminum trim. So yeah, now we're just starting to put things in here and reassemble it essentially. So we have the table here, and I'm just getting the mounted on the bottom side. Have a Lagoon style mount, not an actual name brand one because that's way too expensive, but one from Amazon. Pretty sturdy, actually pretty good quality, so that's what we're working with right now. And we're also getting it mounted in the camper, so I'll show you that. So here's how we kind of have the table mounted now. It's a little tricky because I don't have a lot here to mount to, so I only have 2 screws in right now, but in terms of strength, you know, it's going to be potentially a little iffy, so we're going to have to give it a shot. It's difficult with how I have this built, getting the mount up here in a good spot, and also allowing the table to be low enough so the bed can still slide over it when the table's lowered. So not a ton of options. I do have an alternate spot. I can mount it over here and run maybe a full piece of wood up, and that could work if this doesn't work, but we'll give this one a shot and yeah, see if we can make it work for us. All right, big update. We have everything in the camper, seats, table, everything. You can ignore this other brown flooring. It's just like I guess a floor mat I'm using right now to keep the real flooring in good shape. Got the sink mounted in here, looking real nice. Still have to figure out a latch and handle mechanism for this area, but there's where the water tanks are gonna go. Step back a little bit here. It's hard to fit everything on the inside of the camper here, but it's looking super good. Got this cabinet all in here. It's a little tight. I'm gonna have to do some adjusting. Then you can see we've got some wire runs we're working with. At the moment, right now, what I'm working on is this little switch panel that I 3D printed. These are for the outside lights. So I'm just working on routing the wires now. And yeah, getting stuff situated. The next big thing to tackle on this build is going to be the electrical, which is going to go down here. We'll have our fuse panel and all that stuff there on the back wall. Got to secure the battery, of course. But yeah, that's what we're working on right now. But this is the inside, and it's looking pretty dang good. Okay, a little update here. So the solar comes through the roof right here. Don't really care for that much. Probably will redo this in the future, but for now we have the wire routed over there and then down past the window, so you can still open the window easily, and then it's going to run through here, and then that's just some patchwork from cleaning out some water damage and filling this in. But this drops down and then it pops out right here, and now it's got to go through right there because the bed slides right here, right? So this is going to be tucked up over here out of the way, and the bed will be able to slide without interference, and then it's going to pop into this location here. And so what I did is I just cut this where these join and made this a removable panel, because in order to remove this portion I'd have to take all of this off, take this off, take all the seats out. In the future it's going to be much easier if I have this as a separate panel, and I can make some nice little 3D printed like plates to cover up where they join, make it look real nice. But drilled a hole here at the top because we're going to take the solar cable and run it underneath the back side of this panel where this wire is, pop it out at the bottom so we can then feed it through this hole down here that goes underneath this floor down to where our power is going to be, which is there. That's roughly what it's going to look like. So yeah, that's what we're working with right now. But gonna probably hang it up here for tonight. Gotta eat some dinner and pick this up in tomorrow. All right, so I got the the power monitor, battery monitor mounted here in this panel, as well as the switch for the water pump. See, that's all mounted in there. May redo this in the future and do something like cool 3D printed, but we'll see. Got power, and the battery monitor cable ran into this cabinet here. Kind of tucked the excess up here. Obviously, that panel is going to cover all this, so you won't see any of that, and it won't be in the way. Also, I got the water pump mounted in here and wired up for the switch. Tested it, it works good. Starting to get the plumbing sorted out. The water goes in from this way, so it'll suck from the water tank back here, come in and go up to the sink. I still got to find maybe a barbed fitting for the end of this so I can hook this up to it. But I also need to put a T in this somewhere, because I'm going to run a spigot outside, probably to like that little spot right there that I patched. That way I have a drain port too for emptying this out in the winter. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now, just getting that sorted. Drain will be easy. That'll just be a hose right into a 7-gallon container. So simple. But yeah, it's looking pretty good and coming along. So update for tonight, we got the sink all plumbed in. This right here where it drops down, that's where a T is going to eventually go to the outside spigot. I wanted this to kind of be like the lowest point between the sink and the pump, so any water that's kind of hanging out can be pumped down and out. We have the water strainer here as well, which helps catch any debris, keeps them going to the pump, and then that hose goes down and into where the container would be, which will sit up here. Had a funnel here because I was messing around with it trying to get the pump primed. It's supposed to be self-priming. I think it just lost its initial prime. We will see there. But ran into an issue with the hot side, which I don't have hooked up because I'm not going to have hot water in this. It actually was leaking, so I got to find a way to patch that, or plug it I should say, and then we should be golden on that front. Moving up here, ended up getting this all mounted up, which is a little USB A and C port, which is quite nice. So that's in a nice little spot. When the bed's all the way out, you can still access the cable if you need to. And let's see what else we get. Oh, we got this little 3D printed deal here to hold the 12-volt plug for the fridge, which will go in this section here. Obviously the drawer is pulled out right now. I'll show you why that is. So we went ahead and got these tie downs mounted here, and yeah, that's what's going to hold the fridge in place. I just got to find some good straps for that, but yeah, that's all squared away as well. So trying to get this ready to potentially use this weekend, but we will see. Alright, so I got a big update for you guys. I've just been kind of plugging away, working, getting stuff done. Haven't stopped to film a ton because I've been super short on time, and I'm trying to get out today and take this thing camping for the first time. So just been buttoning up a lot of little loose ends that I need to get finished, so this thing is ready to take out. Certainly not 100% dialed, but it will be in a state good enough to use. So let me show you guys what I've been up to. Right, so we got cushions in this baby. It's nice 4-inch thick foam. Picked it up from a place called Joann's, like a chain fabric store. So got those in here. These are just some patio furniture covers off of Amazon, and then we got a little 2-cushion deal going on here. These are super comfortable. The foam was ridiculously expensive. Good thing it was 40% off, because it's like $65 after being 45% off for all this foam. So yeah, cushions are in, everything's feeling awesome. And I think I showed you guys this little 3D printed stabilizer here, but that's all mounted and super sturdy. Moving on down to the electrical side of things, I got the battery secured in place. That's not going anywhere. And I just got to tidy up some wires under here, do some cleaning up, and it'll be good for now. So yeah, that's accomplished. And then moving over here, this is really exciting. I got the sink functioning. Oh yeah. She's got some pressure too. So that functions. I'm just kind of running some bleach water through the whole system right now to try and clean it up. But it even like will do a little tiny trickle, which is awesome. So pump's all mounted, and then the switch to control it is there. And then yeah, got the this all mounted up as well. And then under here you can kind of see how we have everything sorted. So that is the gray water tank, and then up there is the regular fresh water. And I gotta mount some deals to keep these two containers in place. So that's one thing I gotta do. And then fridge is in and secured. It's not let me see there. It's not anything super pretty at the moment. Got a bunch of extra strap, but it's in there nice and secure. Should be perfect. And it's powered on right now, cooling down. So that is awesome. And let's see. Oh, I'll show you guys on the outside. Now on the outside we got our E-track mounted. So super sturdy. I just need some longer bolts for these top holes as they go through more wood than I thought that they would. So those are mounted. And these ones here on the back are mounted as well. Max tracks are eventually going to go over here on this side. And then the last thing I got done are these doubled up 3x2s that are cut to the length of the bed. These are going to go under the camper and will give us the additional bit of height we need to clear the bed sides. All right, so we got the interior done enough to head out camping. That's actually where I'm at right now, is out in the woods, enjoying some nice peace and quiet and a lovely day. But yeah, we got everything together. I'm going to call this version 1.0 of the interior. There's sure to be revisions like version 1.1 and 1.2 as I do some other things. But as far as having this usable and ready to camp in and all of the major stuff done, we are right there. So yeah, I guess without further ado, why don't I go ahead and show you guys what the interior looks like. Now, I'm super happy with how everything turned out in here. I don't know, it's kind of better than I could have expected. It feels really polished and functional. Lots of storage, lots of little nooks and crannies to kind of stash things, which is awesome. I'm not sure how much more I'm going to do in terms of like permanent storage changes. I kind of like having a lot of the open spaces in here to just kind of stick stuff, get stuff out of the way. So we'll see as we use it more, but super happy with my first time out in it, and how everything feels and how everything functions is awesome. Fridge works well, sink works great, having the battery monitor is awesome, and the dinette where it's at is great as well. So just really happy with how everything turned out, and it's kind of exceeded my expectations. Well, that really concludes this build series on the camper. Any of the upcoming videos on this are probably going to be smaller, more focused on specific things like redoing the ceiling or putting in the heater, things like that. I may even combine them into one video depending on how long the things take me. But as far as like major build milestones, I'd say that this series is largely complete for now. Really happy with where everything's at, and just looking forward to getting outside and being able to use this now. A lot of little tiny tweaks, things like, you know, mounting paper towels and soap dispenser and little hooks and organization things here and there that I'm going to add. but largely it's really functional. It's working really well, and I am just super stoked with how it has come out. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think about the build in this series. If you haven't watched all the videos in this series, I definitely encourage you to watch those, so you can see the whole journey and where this thing came from. It was pretty, what's the word? It was pretty used, I guess is a good word, and a little bit neglected before rebuilding it. So yeah, if you guys don't follow me on my Instagram, you should. It's PNW Explore. I post a lot of updates there to my stories and things like that, so oftentimes you'll get a little sneak peek into what I'm doing before a video comes out. And definitely subscribe if you haven't. It helps me out a ton, especially when it comes to reaching out to brands or people, sending me stuff to review, to show you guys. That it helps with that a ton. But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap this up here and kind of conclude this build series in these I think there's 5 episodes now. So I am so happy to be done with all the big stuff and kind of start getting back out into what I like to do, which is camping, shooting these videos, taking pictures. So until then, I guess catch you guys in the next video.